walks in and says, "Oh, I'm researching my street." And this turned into this enormous project of producing multiple neighborhood newsletters and a walking tour. So I'm going to introduce to you Pete Jarvis from the Shrubland Road TRA, who's going to tell you about how he turned a little bit of research into a huge project. So Pete, why did you first come into Hackney Archives?
I'm not sure if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
No.
It's better to use the mic.
I'm dropping. So, do you know where Shrubland Road is?
Yeah.
Do you know Queensbridge Road? If you don't know, it's just down here on the left-hand side. It's quite a short street. It runs from Queensbridge Road to the London Fields. But in my view, it is the most historical, distinctive road in the whole of the borough, apart from Mayor Street and the Town Hall. I'm sure you've all been outside there demonstrating or writing, depending on what you're about. But it's got an enormous history, which we never knew about. And what happened was some few years ago, we were actually in, we got a community flat, and we played bingo there. Sorry about this. Oh, could you hold it for me? We got a community flat, which we've had for 40 years. The TRA has been existed for 50 years. And of course, in those 50 years, there's been a lot of struggle. We had struggles at one stage with gangs, which was, openly gangs meeting in the street and in the car park. We also had trouble with drug dealers. They were dealt with, and they never came back. They were dealt with in a positive way. So we've got a long history. So we've got an history also of struggle against the poll tax. But also we had this community flat, which was always available for the ones who didn't have an extra room, because some of the houses down our street are quite posh, some of them are overcrowded flats. So we used the flat for kids, we run a kindergarten, we run an enormous amount of sort of activity from the flat. Well, about 2 years ago, it was our 50th anniversary, so we were playing bingo, not me playing bingo, no, don't think of the idea of me playing bingo. But we were playing bingo, and it started a chat. The council had decided they were going to take the flat back, and revert it to housing. So, from our point of view, we never give up anything that we've ever gained, because the rule of the East End, if you give something up, they come back for more. So our rule was we started fighting against it. So what we did was we produced a leaflet, which I can't find, of course. We put the then mayor on the front of it, so he obviously would have to have a look at it. And we put down in this little pamphlet our achievements. So what we decided was we'd come up the library to see what we could find out. So the discussion was in the community flat was about cold. I don't know, but years ago, people who couldn't afford heating went to one of the libraries. The local libraries were mainly closed down, but you also went to a pub. And of course, they were taking away our community flat where a few people used to go to keep warm and have a chat, but the pubs had closed as well. They weren't just places to drink, they were places to keep warm. So we came up here and we had a discussion about the pubs. There was, one bloke who lived in the area 90 years and he knew a lot more pubs than I did. And of course, there were some of us, we then started going over the number of pubs. And of course, if you go to the pubs, they've all closed. So we thought to ourselves, let's come up here and see what we could find out. And I've got a list of the people that have helped us over here, but let's just say the staff here were absolutely brilliant, because we came in, what can you do for us? So first of all, if you can see the maps over there, it had pub down, names of pubs, areas of pubs. And so we look at it and go, oh yeah, remember that pub? And then someone would obviously remember the pub, or most of them. And of course, we then went to the directories, they're over there I think. And of course you found out, the names of the pubs and who owns them. Of course, I live in a place called Lovell House, which is in Shrubland Road, and the pub landlord was called Ray Lovell. And And so we considered it must have been named after him. And of course there's a cabinet maker across the road, you know, called Lovell as well. So we were trying to find out for ourselves, it must be named after local common people, because that's what council would do. It's named after someone's memory, the 8th Chancellor or something, in fact. But we found that by, again, asking the staff here if they could help us on it. And they came out with a document that actually discussed the naming of the block. You know, it's astonishing what you can get. You know, Queensbridge Road was called Queens Road or Cambridge Road. And there was a debate about what they should rename it in '68. I would have, Grantchester Way. Who would rather have it called Grantchester Way? No. Oh, come on, honestly, ain't that something on TV or something? They also wanted to call it Dalston Way. But they came up, they had meetings. There were meetings up and down the road, down Queensbridge Road. They called it Queensbridge Road. They, democratically this time, they decided to do it that way. So this is how they helped us. So we had the maps, the thingy-bobs, whatever you call those directories. And then what we did was, this is absolutely brilliant. You can go online, they showed us how to go online, some, you know, newspaper archive. And they keep saying it's the Times, but I'm a print worker and suffered after Mr. Maxwell, so I don't look at the Times or do anything like that. But what I'm saying was that you do know about the dispute, don't you? Against the Sun and newspapers. If you don't, well, it should be a disgrace living in this area. So they showed us these, and of course what we started seeing was history of that road. And I've only done 40 of them. This is the Thanks Hackney Archive. We did this from our TRA. It's free, by the way. No, panned. They said I couldn't sell it, so I had to give it for free. And we did this as a thank you to them. And when we started looking at these stuff, right? I've only got 25s of this one. Sorry about this if it doesn't look good, but this isn't a proper leaflet. We've got a proper good looking flash one somewhere, but I can't see that. It's over there. Did you get that from me, young lady? Oh dear, that's me being Cockney again. That one. And that's the leaflet, but we brought these, there's 25 of them if you want them, about the walk that we did. Did you know the twins? You know what I mean by the twins? Were born in Aggerston, by Aggerston Station. I never knew that. So we've started finding out little bits about our road, right? I'm not being funny, it's an interesting road. Do you know there was a bus garage down there? A bus garage. You all remember the 1958 strike, don't you? Well, I was a kid at the time, I'm nearly going to work. You remember the 58, 59 Prince strike? No? Well, there was a 58 bus strike. But do you know what it was before? It was a bus garage? A military barracks. So, when we discovered it was a military barracks, you know what goes along with the military, don't you?
Pubs.
Pubs, of course. And gambling. I can't think of anything else. But there was in fact down our road a gambling den, which was Italian. I'm not having to go at Italians, but it was spread all over North London. And they caught them down our road. It's disgusting, isn't it, really, how you had gambling dens down there. And of course, the other thing was, we had a pub called the Sir Robert Peel. And his name was Lovell, as I said. If you go back to the 1890s, when the campaign to shut the pubs started in Hackney, right, there was this bloke. Of course, where Lovell House was, I think you mentioned it before, was the vicarage of St Mary's Church. You all know St Mary's Church, because he got bombed in the war. You remember that? Of course, the church itself was designed by the same geezer that did Buckingham Palace. So it was a beautiful church, was taken out by one bomb. But what we found out is this vicar, who lived in where I was living, was in the campaign to close all the pubs down. And another geezer down the road, like 38, he also wanted to close the pubs down. So we decided, that's how we decided to come up here and look at what the pubs were, which pubs we knew, and the campaign. And if you get hold of one of the little leaflets we produced, it gives you an article. We wrote an article. There might be some spelling mistakes in it, but who cares? There's some spelling mistakes in it about the campaign they've done it. They weren't very successful, by the way, but by 1990, they virtually won. So 100 years later, most of the pubs have been closed down. So I've talked about the leaflets there. I've talked about, you know, the bits that we were given, the advance. I'll tell you, the idea that you can go online and look up articles about your street is fantastic. And I'm going to, later on, I'm going to give, I've only got a few minutes left. I'll give you some history of some of the things that took place. So, do you want to...
Microfilm.
Oh, what? Go on, say that again.
Microfilm.
Oh, microfilms. She's supposed to be my font. What microfilms? Oh, yeah, that's it, yeah. So what we did, as I said, we got the articles, the dates of the articles, and then we looked at the Hackney Gazette, and there's a couple of other Hackney newspapers, and then they gave us the stories from the local way. And of course, being one of the things that we did, we looked at the First World War. And did you know, in down our street, you won't know this because none of you know the other house, there used to be an area of a big house, right, which was green, grass on it. And it was always grass. You know what it was used for? Dog poo, whatever. And you know, when do you think it, what do you think it was?
Burial ground?
No, nearly there. We did find 2 dead bodies in one of the gardens. It had nothing to do with that. It had nothing to do with the Craig twins as well. They moved out a long time ago.
Bomb damage?
This is a pub.
A bomb. What war was it from? The Second World War, of course it was. So we come up here, we ask them, can we have a look? Is there any way we can find out where the bombs were dropped in the Second World War? It's over there. We moved it, right?
Oh, it's in there somewhere now.
It's in there somewhere, right? They had this map of where all the bombs dropped. It's actually fantastic. But there's no bomb dropped on our road. It was a bomb from the First World War. And that because I didn't know that. Lisa, I think, was the one who showed it to me. It was a bomb from the First World War. 2 people died. 5 were injured. The 2 people that died were the number of people who died from aerial bombing in what was it, the First World War was 1,800. So 2 of them died in our street. So then we came up here and had a look at the people who died, if there was anybody who died in the war fighting. And we had 4 people in our street who died. So we had 6 in the First World War. Considering there's only a few houses down the street, that's a high number. But there was a barracks, remember, but it closed in 1906 to become the bus garage. So you can see the history is developing. So the other thing is that about the pub, this is a really good story. Is there any police officers here? No? No one's recording this, are they? So, Sir Robert Peel was a nice pub, right? It pulled down in '62. So what happens is that, you know, we used to have police officers on the beat. You're probably too young to remember seeing police officers on the beat. They used to walk around the streets. And of course, not all of them, but I'm saying some of them are a little bit crooked. And they used to go to the pub to get a pint when it closed. I think the deal was you could have afters. Do you know what afters or lock-ins is? So they used to go and get their pint or a quart. This police officer had got a quart. But you know what? The campaign, the vigilant campaign, right, had spies going around following the police officers to see if they took drink from the pubs for free. Terrible, ain't it? And what happened was it went to court. And our governor in the pub had to go to court, and of course he blamed it on the bar staff. He was downstairs, so he didn't see it. But we can't find out what happened to the police officer. He got off Well, up to the police officer. Is there anywhere where you could find out where you happen to his record? He's from Dalston Station, so we thought, well, it's not there no more, is it? I won't tell any stories about Dalston Station. But anyhow, I could though. So that's another aspect to the have I gone on too long? Is there any questions? I've been asked, they said you've got to ask questions. So any questions? I'll tell you another really good one. You've got to always be careful with that. If people come up, make out they're council employees, anybody seen this trick? You go up, knock on the door, say, I'm from the council, there's a leak upstairs, and we want to have a look around your flat. What they do is while you're in there, they rob you. Well, they thought you think that's a new idea. Well, it was done in Ashley 150 years ago. Someone knocked on the door, said, I've come to repair your banister. And of course, they nicked all the stuff as far as that was concerned. So you can see. We also had someone jilted. We went to court. Oh, terrible. This woman was jilted down our street. We've also had loads of other fault, mainly crime. Yeah, mainly crime as far as that is concerned. And of course, we also have one other thing I want to talk about. We have one of the last pigeon lofts in the East End of London. We actually fly pigeons. If you ever come to, anyone coming on our walk next week? Well, we've got a pigeon loft. So you can have a look at the pigeon loft. We're starting in our garden. We have a magnificent garden. If you want to come, you can help us sweep it up. But we've got a pigeon loft as far as that is. And that's been going on for, the person who does it has been doing it before the war. His family's been doing it, which was a big issue as far as that is concerned. So, I think I've mentioned enough of our situation. So let's just go on to the history. The books are over there. So we had, what's her name again?
Lansbury.
No, not Jules Lansbury. I don't remember. Kate Thompson. Anybody ever heard of her? No. There's a bloke called Thompson, I remember, who wrote a book on Labour history. But Kate Thompson is this other woman who writes books about Bethnal Green during the First World War. No? Second World War then. Well, she came down and did a book launch at our street because she was fascinated by the work we've been doing, and of course there's some history with some of the people who live in the street with the East End, the big fire, one of the fires in which you've mainly forgotten now, but she mentions it in one of her books. So she came down and did the big launch. We also had the old mayor come down, and he used to call bingo. Bingo, absolutely dreadful. He tried though, not pleasantly. So these are the things that we've done. So we've got some stuff that we can add out to you, right? We borrowed, pinched, we got permission to print something from the Hackney, whatever the thing, Terrier is it called? Terrier. Yeah, so we print some stuff from there, and we printed other stuff about it. And I'd just like to finish, what can I finish on? Have I waffled a lot?
Have a copy truck.
No, we used to have 4. We don't have any now. So if you come on the pub walk, you start off at the Sir Robert Peel, you go to the Lee Arms. Now, where's the Lee Arms famous for? Again, 100 years ago, when the barracks was there, 100 years of course, people used to go and wave the troops goodbye. And if there's a lot of people there, what do you expect other people to turn up? Pickpockets. Pickpockets, excellent. Someone's read the article. So a load of pickpockets turned up, and the police, there were about 500 people. Police are very popular, remember, especially the ones from Dalston. They tried to arrest these pickpockets. So 4 coppers against 500 people. They had to run down and take shelter in the Lee Arms. So there's a big battle going on, they're taking shelter in the Lee Arms. And they managed to get, I think, 4 or 5 of them arrested. How long did you think they got for attacking police officers? A month? No idea?
5 years.
6 months. Which I was shocked at, because I knew a few of my mates who'd probably take 6 months off just to take a few pictures. No, that's not true, of course. They got more when they did it. But anyhow. So there's no questions?
Have you had any recent campaigns against, for example, delivery companies who set up shop in your street?
Ah, that was a bit, that's really brilliant. That's a bit I'm going to mention. So we had a campaign against them closing the flat down, and they're still going to do it. I think a mistake. Once you have a facility, you could use it. Rather than coming to us and saying, let's look at redo it, look at what it's being used for. But it's only a flat. As I say, Ken Livingston gave it to us. So it hasn't been closed yet, but it will do. But the last thing that came, because we've been able to bring the community together, you know, for events, you know, if you ever pass in our way, we had bingo for pensioners, you know, which Tesco gives you 150 quid for prizes, you know, so it's quite a good game. Nearly everybody wins a prize. So we failed on that one, but who do you think comes down our road? The number one, you probably all used the company. Amazon. He's got all the answers, hasn't he, this one? He knows our road, he's been down there. So we had Amazon set up a hub, a distribution up in our road. And honestly, I was appalled. As a trade unionist, I've never seen anybody use workers in such a way. There's nowhere to go to the toilet. So where do you go to toilet down our road? You go on the stairs, in the lifts and things. That's what they were doing. And they absolutely made a fool of it. So we run a little campaign. So we run a campaign with pressure and things like that. We've used a number of leaflets, and this is the final one we did, where we go to everything, we go down, and we really, in a sense, want them out of our road. If they come up with the idea, come to us, and we'll go over to have a campaign for it. I nearly had backing for it, you know, if they had carried on, but the council withdrew on it. So let's end this nice session with our victory. We won the victory because we're a community. We're a community not only discusses our history, but we do events together. You know, those events together can bring you friends. Because there's cases where some of the older people, you get lost in your flat. There's some of the younger children who do not have anywhere where they can do their own work. Our community does that. We've done that. You know, we have Halloween. We have a bouncy castle. We had trips to the seaside. We went to Clacton once, and when we pulled up there, we realised, and this is now, I mean, maybe different in my days in the 50s or 40s, that kids never been to the seaside. You know, and we were able to do that with the funding that we're able to get. We've got a large number of funding which we pay from the council from. I didn't tap the council. Did I tap the council? I will know. Anyhow, I'd just like to thank you for listening to me. If there's any questions in the last 5 minutes, I'll be quite happy to do it. If you want one of these pamphlets, come up to me.
I've got a question for you. Where do you go for a drink then?
Where do I go for a drink?
Yeah, which pub do you?
I tell you what, when we did the first walk, we ended up at the
Perseverance.
The Perseverance. Do you know in Broadway Market? We went to the Perseverance because it was the only family-run pub. All the others run by chains, because there's pubs still down, there's a couple of pubs. You know, what's the one at the top of the road called?
Cat and Mutton.
Cat and Mutton. Do you know it's called the Cat and Leg of Mutton originally? I never knew that. But yeah, that's true. So when we go to a pub, I do not drink around here anymore. I don't drink anywhere because I'm on a number of drugs, 17 tablets a day, suffer from the heart, stroke, and various other things I've got wrong with me. So I'm not allowed to drink, but I do. The only place I'll have a pint is I go to Leon C, Hackney Cockles, Jelly Deals, and I always have half a pint when I get down there. And also, we did have an article about the last, what do you call it, shellfish stall in the East End, which is down Oxton.
Tubby Isaacs.
Yeah.
Tubby Isaac's gone a long time ago. We used to have two down Queensbridge Road alone. And of course, you had Lee's in the market. They're all gone. So there's one that opens up on a Saturday now down Oxton. We added an article on that, which we celebrate obviously because you all must love, don't you, Welsh, which is my favourite. And you all think they're chewy, but they're not. When you get the proper Welsh, they're absolutely fantastic. She's looking at me. She gave me a finger. I don't know what that means. It means I've got to shut up. So any other questions? No? Anyhow, thank you very much for listening to me.